Well, I think the world has seen very clearly that it is the United States that has been making the provocations, which have led to the escalation of tensions in the Taiwan Strait. The United States should and must take all responsibility for that. The words you mentioned that were said by Secretary Blinken have mixed the black with white, and it is very telling, again, that some people in the United States hold on to a hegemonic mindset and an essentially extortionist logic. The U.S. essentially saying to the world that it can do anything it wants to make provocations, but others cannot oppose them or take self-defense measures. And recently, China has made clear our stern opposition to the potential visit to Taiwan by Pelosi, both in Beijing and Washington. Let me just make some additional points. First, any government institution in the United States, executive, legislative, and judicial alike, should follow the foreign policy recognized and committed to by the U.S. government. In 1979, the U.S. government clearly committed in the joint communique on establishment of diplomatic relations that the United States of America recognizes the People's Republic of China as the sole legal government of China. And within that context, the people of the United States will maintain cultural, commercial, and other unofficial relations with the people of Taiwan. The Congress is part of the U.S. government, and it should strictly abide by the foreign policy of the U.S. government. When the House Speaker, being the third highest ranking figure in the U.S. government, flies on a U.S. military plane and make a provocative visit to the Taiwan region, it is not, certainly not, an unofficial behavior. And secondly, the wrongful actions of certain politicians of the United States do not constitute a precedent, and still less should become an excuse for the U.S. to repeat its mistake on the question of Taiwan. And third, the One China principle is a universally recognized norm in international relations and a shared commitment of the international community. And it is on the basis of the One China principle that China has established diplomatic ties with the U.S. and 180 other countries. So this is a commitment the U.S. has made on the One China principle to China in the three joint communiques. So recently, the U.S. has claimed its commitment to the One China policy, but action-wise, it has been backtracking, blurring, and hollowing out the One China principle. It has been inserting the so-called TRA and the Six Assurances into its One China policy, which is unilaterally concocted and has never been recognized and has been firmly opposed to by China. The U.S. has also gone against its commitment on maintaining non-official ties with the Taiwan region. It has upgraded its level of contact with Taiwan. It has steadily increased arms sales to Taiwan. So on that, many people with insight have been very clear about this, domestically and internationally, and they have pointed out the danger of those actions. So according to former Secretary of State, Mr. Kissinger, who said at this year's Davos World Economic Forum, my understanding of the agreement has been that the U.S. would uphold the principle of One China, and I think it's essential that these principles be maintained, and the U.S. should not, by subterfuge or a gradual process, develop something of a two-China solution. And after news came out about Pelosi's potential visit to Taiwan, many people, including those from the mainstream U.S. media and think tanks and the former political leaders of allies of the United States, have publicly said that under whatever reason, Pelosi's visit to Taiwan would be foolish, dangerous, and unnecessary. It would be a dangerous gamble, and it's hard to imagine anything more reckless and provocative than this. And if the U.S. side misjudges or mishandles the cross-strait situation, it will lead to disastrous consequences for the Taiwan region and even the security, prosperity, and order of the entire world. And my fourth point is that the U.S. has been following a strategy of using Taiwan to contain China, and based on this strategy, it has supported and connived at Taiwan independence separatist forces and has made deliberate provocations against China on Taiwan. It has been pushing the envelope on China's red lines, and the U.S. and Taiwan have collaborated and made provocations first, whereas China has only been compelled to act out of self-defense. And Any countermeasure that China will take would be justified and necessary in response to the unscrupulous behavior and oblivion of the U.S. to China's repeated démarches, and China is only exercising the right entitled to by any independent sovereign country, not to mention that China is a country of 1.4 billion people with 5,000 years of history. So we hope that the U.S. is clear-eyed about that. And my fifth point is that the ins and outs of the history of the Taiwan question is crystal clear. So are the facts and status of the two sides of the Taiwan Strait belonging to one and the same China were firmly against Taiwan independence terrorist forces and foreign intervention, and we allow no room for Taiwan independence forces. The position of the Chinese government and the people is consistent, and is the firm will of the Chinese people to uphold sovereignty and territorial integrity. And the U.S. should give up any attempt to play the Taiwan card and strictly abide by the One China principle and the 3 joint U.S. communiques. If the U.S. pursues any wrong course of action, and it will assume responsibility for all serious consequences.